So this is actually with my burner. This is 9,000 volt. It's a neon sign transformer. You can kind of see it down here. It's definitely more efficient. It also overall does a better burn. Plus you can kind of let it sit and burn deeper, whereas the microwave transformers you can't. You're actually shorting it to ground. So if you let it sit at a full short, it'll actually ruin the transformer. But this recognizes it as a normal load. Like I said, this is 9,000 volt at about 4.5 amps. And what's weird is that this transformer actually likes it when the wood is not as wet or damp. The microwaves kind of want the wood to be soaked. With this transformer, you really don't want a lot of saturation. And I noticed that the best mix is probably around 3 cups of water to 1 cup of baking soda. So this will be just a quick demonstration. You can see I use 2 prods on this. Normally with the microwaves I only have 1 prod. It's kind of a user safety, so they, don't have both their hands tied up in case there's an accident or something happens, they fall, trip, or whatever. So I guess this would be an advanced level. But this does a lot cleaner of a burn. It's a lot more defined. And like I said, it's a normal load, so you could sit here and do this all day. You'll probably melt your rods, but as far as hurting the transformer, it's a basic normal load. It's just like as if you were powering a neon light bulb or a neon sign. So what'll happen is it's kind of slowing down here a little bit. The wood actually did dry out a little bit more than what I was ready for, so I just kind of lightly soak it again. Another thing you can do too is you can kind of hammer these prods in, one at one end, one at the other, and then just let them run, and kind of soak it here and there when you need to. And then also, like the wood, it really matters whether you sand it down, whether it's stained, whether there's some kind of weatherproofing coat on it, or factory coat to keep it from molding, or whatever. That all kind of comes into play, as well as the thickness of the wood, what kind of wood it is. I mean, everything really comes into play. So some burns will be really quick, some are kind of a little more drawn out. As you can see, this one's pretty slow but steady. Let's see if I can hold both of these without shocking myself. There we go. So now I kind of have access to the water. But you'll notice if I spray the water, it stops it. Like I said, it really hates when there's a lot of saturation, so it'll find a new path kind of around the water, which is like an interesting way to sort of direct the flow of current and direct your burn. But in reality, electricity is technically a theory. We can contain it to some degree, but we can't totally control it. It's going to do whatever the hell it wants. So you'll notice that, like with a lot of the burns, like this one, out of nowhere the corners are lighting up. Even though there's no path over there, there's literally nothing touching it. It's just, it'll pretty much go wherever the hell it feels like going. Yeah, this one's pretty neat. You can kind of, like say for instance that was sort of a center line you wanted to get drawn, and you're sick of kind of like waiting for it to meet. Once those 2 paths meet, I'll kind of start drawing it out, and it becomes a thick red line that you can just let it sit and burn deeper and deeper. And like when you get to a certain point, you could always take it, run the wire brush through it to kind of get a little bit more depth into it, and then resaturate it and start reburning it again. Right, follow the path I want, not that path. So here I'm going to kind of manipulate my path. Just to give you an idea of like one solid, nice, thick burn. Now with the microwave, you can't do this. Like if you try to let it sit like that with that bright red path, it'll flame up. It's you know, it gets pretty intense, and eventually you will end up either burning up the coils of the transformer or just, you know, tripping the circuit. Because the microwave, you're actually going from positive to ground. This one you're going, you know, I guess positive to positive, or whatever the outputs are on this particular unit. Alright, so there's like my main path if I was going to do just a single burn across. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll go back through and actually scratch out some of the burnt stuff just to get it moving a little bit quicker. You know, just kind of random things that I've learned throughout doing this. But it should always kind of like keep that path back up. And so say for instance I finished, you know, I got my nice deep burn in all the way across or something like that. I'd probably do this for like another 5 minutes or so just to get it nice and deep. Then what I could do is start coming off the sides to get I guess a little bit more spread on the actual main bolt. You can also manipulate it, you know, a little bit more again, kind of come out where you want. But you'll notice as it's burning towards each other, it's drying the wood. So a lot of times it looks like it's going to meet, and then out of nowhere it'll just like that. It'll actually go the opposite direction or go around and figure out its own path. Like this one will head towards it and then away from it, and then the left and the right, and it kind of like tries to figure out, you know, the best path to ground. It's all really trial and error. You just got to kind of mess with it. Like this one, it's running away before it runs back, and really that has to do with, you know, the saturation of the wood there. This area is probably more dry. Yeah, you know, you obviously just kind of do whatever you want to do, feel like doing. Again, you can really only control this path to a certain extent. It's really going to do whatever it feels like doing. Alright, so if I shut that off, I think I got, yeah. I like the skinny wire brushes better, something like this. You can kind of really dig down into the cracks. Dump that off. Grab an air gun. Alrighty. Beautiful Velcro design. And so this is kind of what your end all result is. Once you kind of scrape it out, you'll see maybe where you need to reburn it, or whatever you want to do. And a lot of times what I'll do is I'll take different paints, or glow in the dark, or UV activated. This one's actually UV activated. And I'll end up filling or painting the surface and kind of filling the cracks with my paint. And then once you resand it again, obviously the paint's only in the cracks. So this is kind of a design that I was working on just to see what would happen. So yeah, microwave transformer does pretty much the same thing, maybe not as intense, but so I'll try later.